I was 18 when I accepted Islam. I was from a very semi-religious Christian family.
Okay.
But personally, myself, I was pretty religious. Like,
Okay.
my sister used to make fun of me that I'm gonna be a pastor when I grow up.
Subhanallah.
You know,
Okay.
nothing like serious, but just like how much I wanted to go and stuff like that. One of the things, like, so it wasn't until high school.
Yeah.
Islam wasn't even in the picture. It wasn't until high school that I kind of to second guess Christianity, you know? And so, I mean, it's a long story, but
Okay.
the brief story is like,
Allahu Akbar.
from the
Condensed.
beginning, it was like, there were some questionable aspects to me that I couldn't figure out in my mind. You know, the nature of Jesus, worshiping Jesus, things like that. And then when I got to high school, that's when I discovered the textual differences, the canonization of the Protestant versus the Orthodox.
Yeah.
And to me, that was huge. It was like, where are these extra books coming from? And so by the time I was like a sophomore or junior in high school, that means like 17, 18.
Okay.
Right. I think you guys got like metrics, or what do you guys have? So basically, by that time, I was kind of like, I was like out of it. I was like, nah, this isn't making sense. I'm not going to live my life so restricted when the base foundation of what I believe isn't strong. You know what I'm saying? And so then after that, it wasn't until I graduated high school that I had a coworker who started to talk to me about Islam. But it was funny because this guy was teaching me some like Nation of Islam stuff. Are you familiar with Nation of Islam?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that was an American thing, right? So,
Yes.
and so I was kind of confused because for me, if something was salvation, if there was something that was dealing with salvation of humanity, it shouldn't have been a national phenomenon that was restricted to a certain nationality.
Yes.
And that was the big thing with the Nation of Islam, right? It did good for the African Americans in building up their spirits and things like that. And there's so many aspects. It's a whole different podcast. But the problem, obviously, was the message was that it was so restrictive, you know, in the beginning. So I immediately turned to MalcolmX.
Allahu Akbar.
Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz. I immediately turned to him and I read his autobiography, and I was like, I didn't even finish it because I got to the point where he accepted true Islam, and I was like, all right, I want to become a Muslim.
This is enough for me.
Yeah.
enough
And
for
so
me.
the thing was, for me, I didn't have a person that was a good example for me. It was when I opened the Mus'haf and started to read, it was very familiar, right? I think a lot of Muslims forget that the Quran does its dawah. Like a lot of times you just got to place it there. The Quran itself in English, I read cover to cover, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, and I know the stories already. Like, let the Quran do its dawah. I think that's something our listeners need to be aware of, is just let the Quran speak to people. Sometimes you're getting in the way of the Quran actually speaking to people, you know?